The morning sky burned orange and red as something large tore through the atmosphere above the Mojave Desert. Local residents saw the streak of fire and felt the ground shake when it hit. By noon, military vehicles surrounded the crash site and kept curious people away. Among the first scientists to arrive was Dr. Olivia Martinez, who had studied strange materials for 15 years at Berkeley University. Her phone had rung at 4:30 that morning. The voice on the other end belonged to General Frank Lewis of the United States Space Defense Force. His message was simple. Something not from Earth had crashed, and she needed to see it. Olivia stood at the edge of a smoking crater now, shielding her eyes from the harsh sun. The object was unlike any meteorite she had ever studied. It had a metallic shell with an iridescent surface that seemed to shift colors as she moved around it. Parts of it were clearly damaged, with jagged edges and exposed inner components that glowed with a soft blue light. This was not a natural object. This was a vessel. "What do you think, Doctor?" General Lewis asked, standing beside her. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes never left the crashed object. "This is artificial," Olivia said. "The material composition, the obvious compartments. This is technology, General, and not ours." Within 24 hours, a temporary research facility surrounded the crash site. White tents and mobile labs formed a ring around the crater, and floodlights illuminated the area as night fell. Olivia worked with a growing team of scientists, including physicist Dr. Alan Carter, a tall man with kind eyes who specialized in theoretical physics at MIT, and engineer Samantha Wells, a former NASA employee known for solving impossible problems. "These alloys shouldn't exist," Samantha said as she examined a small piece of the outer shell. "The molecular structure shifts when we try to analyze it, almost like it's responding to our tests." Alan nodded, looking at data readings on his tablet. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our records. Whatever powered this thing operates on principles we haven't discovered yet." On the third day, they found what looked like weapon components inside a protected central chamber. The pieces were broken but clearly designed with purpose: barrels, targeting systems, and power conduits that could only serve military functions. More puzzling was a partially intact computer system embedded in the wreckage. "It's a message," Olivia said late that night as the three of them huddled around the alien computer. "Look at these repeating patterns. This isn't random data corruption. Someone encoded this deliberately." Alan worked through the night using advanced pattern recognition software to decode the alien message. By morning, they had translated enough to understand a chilling truth. This crash was no accident. Someone had sent this wreckage to Earth, intentionally. The message, though fragmented, was clear enough. Weapon components and delivered to viable species. Forge what we cannot. Threat approaching. General Lewis brought in additional security after that discovery. The site was officially designated Project Starfall and classified at the highest level. President Laura Hoffman was briefed personally, and within days, the temporary facility began transforming into a permanent research installation. Concrete walls rose around the crater, and underground labs were dug into the desert floor. "They wanted us to have this technology," Olivia explained to a room full of government officials 2 weeks after the crash. "Whatever sent this, they're giving us weapon parts for a reason." "And we're supposed to just trust this alien message?" asked Defense Secretary Gregory White, his voice heavy with skepticism. "I don't think we have a choice," Olivia replied. "Because it's not just this crash. There have been others." Reports had come in from around the world. Similar objects had crashed into the South Pacific, the Siberian tundra, and the Amazon rainforest. Each contained different components, all damaged but clearly parts of the same advanced technology. Olivia's team grew to include scientists from across the globe. The UN Security Council authorized a joint international effort after the fifth crash delivered components in the Indian Ocean. The pattern was becoming impossible to ignore. Each crash contained pieces that seemed designed to work together. Someone was sending a disassembled weapon to Earth piece by piece. 3 months after the first crash, Samantha made a breakthrough. "It's a blueprint," she said, pointing to patterns etched into the inner components of the latest debris. Not just random parts, instructions for assembly. They're teaching us how to build something. Alan's work on the computer systems revealed more about the senders. They call themselves the Ardani. From what I can gather, they're in some kind of conflict and losing badly. These weapon parts, their technology the Ardani developed but never actually built. Why would they send weapon designs they never used? General Lewis asked during the daily briefing. That's the strangest part, Olivia said. The message suggests they couldn't build it themselves. Some kind of cultural or biological restriction prevented them from creating weapons of mass destruction. But they clearly think we can. So they chose us, Samantha said quietly. Out of all the species in the galaxy, they picked humans to build their superweapon. The implications were enormous. An advanced alien civilization had not only recognized humanity's existence, but had identified something specific about humans that made them suitable for this task. The thought was both flattering and terrifying. Work continued day and night at Project Starfall. The finest minds on Earth struggled to understand technologies centuries beyond human science. Progress came in frustrating fits and starts. Some components seemed to defy the laws of physics as humans understood them. 6 months after the first crash, the final piece arrived. Unlike the others, this one landed gently in the Nevada desert, using controlled thrusters to touch down just 10 miles from the Starfall facility. It contained a central control system and a complete message from the Ardani. Forge what we could not. They come. The Krell Dominion conquers all in their path. 17 civilizations have fallen. You are next in their expansion. We have observed your species and believe you possess both the technical skill and moral flexibility to create what we could not. This weapon, if completed, can stop the Krell. We have given you all we can. The rest depends on you. They will reach your world in 2 of your years. That night, Olivia stood alone on the observation platform overlooking the assembled alien components. The scattered pieces now filled a warehouse-sized room. In the dim light, the alien metal gleamed with potential and threat. Humanity had been handed the pieces of a puzzle they didn't fully understand, with the fate of Earth depending on their ability to solve it. As she watched, Alan and Samantha joined her silently. For a long moment, none of them spoke, each contemplating the enormous task ahead. "We can do this," Samantha finally said, her voice firm with determination. "We have to." Alan nodded slowly. "They chose humans for a reason. Maybe we should start believing in ourselves as much as they do." Olivia took a deep breath and turned to her colleagues, her eyes reflecting the soft blue glow from the alien technology below. "Then let's get to work. We have a super weapon to build." In the darkness of space, beyond the orbit of Neptune, the first scout ships of the Krell Dominion had already entered the solar system, moving silently toward an unsuspecting Earth. The race against extinction had begun. 6 months into Project Starfall, the research team made a major breakthrough. Olivia Martinez stood in the central lab surrounded by holographic displays showing star maps. The alien computer systems had finally yielded their secrets after months of careful work. What they revealed made her stomach tighten with dread. The star maps showed the path of the Krell Dominion across hundreds of star systems. Each conquered world was marked with a red dot. The pattern showed steady expansion over what appeared to be centuries, with a clear path now aimed directly at Earth. 17 civilizations, Alan said quietly, standing beside her. Just like the message said, all conquered or destroyed. Samantha pointed to the timeline displayed at the bottom of the map. Based on their current speed, they'll reach our solar system in 18 months. That's less time than we thought. General Lewis frowned as he studied the projection. What do we know about these Krell? Why are they doing this? Olivia pulled up another set of files they had decoded. They appear to be expansionists by nature. They don't just conquer. They absorb resources, technology, and sometimes even the conquered species themselves if they're deemed useful. The ones they don't find useful are eliminated. The room fell silent as this information sank in. Humanity was facing an enemy that had successfully conquered 17 other alien civilizations. An enemy that would arrive in just 18 months. "What about the Ardani?" asked General Lewis. "Why couldn't they build this weapon themselves?" Alan brought up the relevant files on his tablet. "From what we can piece together, the Ardani evolved as a non-aggressive species. They developed incredible technology, but they have a biological aversion to creating weapons of mass destruction. It seems to be hardwired into their brains. They physically cannot bring themselves to build something designed solely to kill on a large scale. So they found us instead," Samantha said, "a species without those limitations. They've been watching us for a long time," Olivia added. "The data suggests they've observed human history for at least several centuries. They chose us because we have both the technical ability to understand their technology and the capacity to use it against the Krell." The implications of this were both flattering and disturbing. Humanity had been selected precisely because they were capable of creating weapons that the morally advanced Ardani could not. Their potential for violence had become their greatest asset. Over the next few weeks, Project Starfall expanded dramatically. The facility grew to accommodate scientists from every major nation. The U.S. government had shared the threat with world leaders, and for once, global politics took a backseat to survival. Russian quantum physicists worked alongside American engineers. Chinese computer experts collaborated with European materials scientists. The impending extinction of humanity proved to be a powerful motivator for international cooperation. Olivia now led the theoretical division, working to understand the principles behind the alien weapon. Samantha headed the engineering team that would actually build it. Alan coordinated between the various groups, ensuring everyone worked toward the same goal. Progress was slow and frustrating. The alien technology operated on principles that often contradicted human understanding of physics. Components that should work together failed unexpectedly. Materials behaved differently under Earth's gravity and atmosphere than they had in their original environment. "It's like trying to build a jet engine with stone tools," Samantha complained one night as they worked late in the lab. "We understand the concept, but our technology isn't advanced enough to execute it properly." Olivia rubbed her tired eyes. "We have to find a way. The Ardani believed we could do this." Alan, who had been quietly studying one of the central components, suddenly looked up. "What if we're approaching this wrong? We've been trying to recreate the Ardani design exactly. But what if we need to adapt it to work with human technology?" This insight changed their approach entirely. Rather than struggling to understand every aspect of the alien technology, they began looking for ways to integrate it with Earth's existing systems. They couldn't recreate the quantum power source the Ardani had designed, but they could modify it to work with Earth's nuclear reactors. The targeting system was beyond human manufacturing capabilities, but they could combine the alien sensors with military satellite networks to achieve similar results. The resulting design was less elegant than what the Ardani had envisioned, but it was something humans could actually build. They called it Project Excalibur, a weapon forged from alien knowledge but shaped by human hands. As work on Excalibur progressed, strange signals were detected at the edge of the solar system. Astronomers at observatories around the world reported unusual energy readings near Pluto's orbit. The Krell scouts had arrived much earlier than expected. President Hoffman addressed the world in a historic broadcast, revealing the existence of both the Ardani message and the approaching Krell threat. Panic spread in some regions, but most of humanity responded with determination. Volunteers flooded research centers. Resources were diverted to the Excalibur project. Military forces around the world began joint training exercises, preparing for a war unlike any in human history. At Project Starfall, Olivia and her team worked around the clock. The pressure was immense, but so was their progress. 9 months. After the first crash, they had a working prototype of Excalibur's core systems. The weapon utilized principles of quantum entanglement to create what Alan called a phase disruption field, a sphere of energy that would destabilize Krell technology on a subatomic level. "It doesn't just destroy their ships," Olivia explained to General Lewis and a panel of world leaders who had come to witness the first test. It severs the quantum connections that make their technology work. Their ships will be dead in space, but intact enough for us to study. The first test was conducted in a sealed underground chamber. A small piece of Krell technology recovered from one of the scout ships that had been shot down near Mars served as the target. Scientists and military leaders watched from behind thick shielding as Samantha initiated the startup sequence. The prototype hummed to life, generating a sphere of blue-white energy that expanded to engulf the Krell device. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the alien technology began to flicker and spark before going completely dark. "It worked," Samantha whispered, checking the readings on her monitor. But as they celebrated this success, something unexpected happened. The energy field began to fluctuate wildly, creating what appeared to be a window in the air. Through this rift, they could see what looked like Earth, but not their Earth. They glimpsed cities in ruins, Krell ships hovering in the sky, humans being marched in chains. "What is this?" General Lewis demanded. Alan studied the readings with wide eyes. "Some kind of dimensional rift. We're seeing parallel Earths, versions of our world where the Krell have already won." The rift closed as suddenly as it had appeared, but its message was clear. In countless other realities, humanity had failed to stop the invasion. They were seeing their own possible future. As the test chamber was secured, Olivia gathered her team. "We have the weapon, but we need to refine it. No more unexpected rifts, no more surprises. We get one chance at this, and we have to get it right." In orbit around Jupiter, the main Krell fleet had arrived. Over 300 warships positioned themselves in formation, preparing for the final approach to Earth. Humanity had just 6 weeks to complete Excalibur before the invasion began. The fate of Earth now rested on a weapon cobbled together from alien wreckage and human ingenuity. A superweapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The final 6 weeks before the Krell invasion turned Project Starfall into the center of human hope and innovation. Every day, new scientists arrived from across the globe, bringing fresh ideas and perspectives. The once secret base now bustled with activity around the clock. Olivia hardly slept, dividing her time between refining the theoretical models for Excalibur and coordinating with international teams. The weapon prototype had been moved to a more secure facility deep beneath the New Mexico desert, where engineers worked to scale it up to its full potential. Samantha led the engineering efforts with fierce determination. Her team included experts from 27 countries, all working together despite language barriers and different scientific approaches. The main challenge now was preventing the dimensional rifts that had appeared during the first test. These unexpected windows into parallel realities were not just disturbing, they threatened to destabilize the weapon itself. "The quantum entanglement is creating bridges between universes," Alan explained during a late-night meeting. He had lost weight in recent weeks, his clothes hanging loose on his tall frame. "When we target Krell technology, we're somehow connecting to versions of our universe where they've already attacked. We need to contain these connections or the weapon could tear reality apart." A Russian quantum physicist named Dr. Yuri Petrov suggested a solution. "We must create containment field around quantum core, like shielding for nuclear reactor but for dimensional energy." The Chinese delegation, led by engineer Mei Lin, proposed using their country's advanced superconductor technology to create this containment field. "Our labs in Shanghai have developed materials that can channel quantum energy without degradation. We can adapt this to stabilize Excalibur." Political tensions occasionally threatened to disrupt the project. Some nations wanted guarantees that they would have equal access to the alien technology after the Krell were defeated. Others insisted on having their own scientists in key positions. General Lewis and President Hoffman spent as much time on diplomacy as they did on military preparations. "We can argue about who controls this technology after we survive," General Lewis told a group of quarreling officials from India and Pakistan. "If we fail, none of that will matter." The urgency of their work increased when telescopes captured images of the Krell fleet. The alien ships were massive, some nearly the size of small cities. They had taken up positions around Jupiter and its moons, establishing what appeared to be a staging area before their final approach to Earth. Occasional scout ships ventured closer, only to be destroyed by Earth's hastily assembled space defense systems. One such scout ship was captured mostly intact, providing valuable intelligence. The Krell were insectoid beings with complex exoskeletons and multiple limbs. Their technology utilized organic components alongside mechanical ones, suggesting a civilization that had evolved very differently from humanity. Their systems are vulnerable to our weapon, Olivia confirmed after studying the captured ship. The quantum disruption will affect both their technology and potentially their biology. The Ardani chose this approach well. With just 2 weeks remaining before the estimated invasion date, Excalibur was moved to its final deployment position, a heavily fortified base on the far side of the moon. The location was chosen to keep the weapon safely away from Earth while placing it in an ideal position to target the approaching fleet. A small crew of scientists and military personnel would operate the lunar base, while control systems on Earth would provide backup. Olivia, Alan, and Samantha all volunteered to be part of the lunar team. "We built it," Samantha said simply. "We should be there when it fires." The night before the lunar transport was scheduled to depart, Olivia stood alone on the roof of the Starfall facility, looking up at the stars. Somewhere among them, the Krell fleet was moving closer, bringing with them the potential end of human civilization. And somewhere else, the mysterious Ardani watched, waiting to see if their gamble on humanity would pay off. "Couldn't sleep either?" Alan asked, joining her on the roof. He handed her a cup of coffee. How could anyone sleep? Olivia took the coffee gratefully. "Tomorrow we leave for the moon to operate an alien superweapon against an invasion fleet. Not exactly a normal Tuesday." Alan smiled faintly. "Do you think the Ardani knew what they were doing when they chose us, out of all the species they could have picked?" "I've been thinking about that," Olivia said. "They needed a species with the right combination of traits, technically advanced enough to understand their technology, but also willing to build a weapon of mass destruction. How many civilizations in the galaxy fit that description?" "Probably not many," Alan agreed. "Most either lack the technology or have evolved beyond violence, like the Ardani." "Which leaves us," Olivia said softly. "Humans, clever enough to build this thing but still primitive enough to use it without hesitation." The lunar transport departed early the next morning, carrying the core team and the final components of Excalibur. The journey took just under 3 days using the most advanced spacecraft Earth had ever built, a fusion-powered vessel incorporating some of the simpler Ardani technologies they had managed to reverse engineer. The lunar base was an impressive structure built into the wall of a crater. Construction had begun immediately after the Krell threat was confirmed, with modules manufactured on Earth and assembled on the moon by robots and a small construction crew. By the time Olivia and her team arrived, the base was operational but still being expanded. Installation of Excalibur took another week of careful work. The weapon's core, a sphere of glowing blue energy contained within layers of advanced materials, was placed in a specially designed chamber at the heart of the base. Power systems, targeting arrays, and control interfaces were connected and tested repeatedly. "Final diagnostic complete," Samantha announced as the last tests finished. "Excalibur is online and fully functional." A cheer went up from the team, but their celebration was short-lived. An alarm sounded, and the main screen showed a flurry of activity from the Krell fleet. The massive alien ships had left their positions around Jupiter and were accelerating toward Earth. "They're coming," General Lewis said over the video link, from Earth Command. "Earlier than we expected. How soon can Excalibur be ready to fire?" "We need at least 12 hours to charge the main capacitors," Samantha replied, checking the systems. "We can't rush it or we risk another dimensional rift." "You have 6 hours," General Lewis said grimly. "Latest intelligence suggests they'll be in optimal firing range by then." The lunar team worked frantically to prepare the weapon. Olivia and Alan made last-minute adjustments to the targeting systems, while Samantha oversaw the power buildup. They pushed the charging process to dangerous levels, constantly watching for signs of instability. 5 hours later, Earth's defensive fleet moved into position. Every space-capable vessel had been armed and prepared for battle, though everyone knew they stood little chance against the advanced Krell warships. Their job was simply to buy time for Excalibur to fire. 80% charged, Samantha reported. We need at least 90 to ensure a clean firing sequence. On the main screen, they watched as the first Krell ships engaged Earth's defenders. The battle was hopelessly one-sided. Human vessels exploded one after another, though they fought bravely and managed to damage several alien ships. 85%, Samantha called out. Almost there. A proximity alarm suddenly blared through the base. Radar showed 3 Krell, vessels breaking away from the main fleet and heading directly for the moon. They know we're here, Alan said. They must have detected Excalibur's energy signature. 88%, Samantha continued, her voice steady despite the approaching threat. Just a little longer. The first Krell ship entered lunar orbit. The base shook as something struck the surface nearby. Probably some kind of scanning, probe or weapon. 90%, Samantha announced. That's enough. We can fire. Olivia took her position at the main control station. All their work, all their hopes, came down to this moment. She entered the final authorization code and placed her hand on the activation switch. Excalibur is armed and ready, she said, looking at her colleagues. For Earth. For Earth, they echoed. Olivia threw the switch. The lunar base hummed with power as Excalibur came fully online. A beam of intense blue-white energy shot from the weapon, crossing the void of space toward the Krell fleet. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then ship after ship began to flicker and dim, their systems disrupted by the quantum weapon. The superweapon had worked. Now the real battle would begin. The blue-white energy from Excalibur washed over the Krell fleet in expanding waves. On the lunar base monitors, Olivia and her team watched as alien ship after alien ship lost power, their engines flickering out like candles in a strong wind. The massive vessels did not explode or break apart. They simply went dark, drifting silently in space. It worked, Alan whispered, almost afraid to believe it. The quantum disruption is shutting down their systems. But their celebration came too soon. As the energy waves reached the center of the Krell fleet, something unexpected happened. The largest ship, a massive command vessel nearly 5 miles long, generated some kind of shimmering shield. The quantum disruption waves broke against this barrier like water on rocks. They have protection against this weapon, Samantha said, checking the readings frantically. The command ship must have recognized the Ardani technology and activated countermeasures. The main screen showed the protected Krell vessels regrouping. There were still over 100 ships unaffected by Excalibur's first firing. Worse, the weapon's power cells were now depleted and would need hours to recharge. Earth Command 2. Lunar Base, General Lewis's voice came through the speakers. Status report. Partial success, Olivia replied. We disabled approximately 2/3 of their fleet, but their command ship has some kind of quantum shielding. Excalibur needs at least 4 hours to recharge for another firing attempt. There was a pause before General Lewis responded. We may not have 4 hours. The remaining Krell ships are changing course. They're heading directly for your position. They know where the weapon is now. Alarms blared through the lunar base as radar detected multiple objects on approach. The Krell had launched what appeared to be landing craft, heading straight for the crater where Excalibur was housed. Evacuation. Protocol Alpha, ordered Colonel William Parker, the military commander of the lunar base. All non-essential personnel to the emergency shuttles immediately. Chaos erupted as people rushed to gather critical data and equipment. Olivia, Alan, and Samantha stayed at their stations, working to speed up Excalibur's recharging process. If we reroute power from the life support systems in the unused sections of the base, we might cut the recharge time to 3 hours, Samantha suggested. Do it, Olivia agreed. But we still need more time. The base shook violently as the first Krell weapon struck the lunar surface nearby. Through the observation windows, they could see dark shapes descending from orbit. Krell landing craft, coming to secure or destroy Excalibur. Colonel Parker organized the base's defenders, a mix of military personnel from various Earth nations. They took positions at key access points, ready to repel boarders. These soldiers had trained for many scenarios, but fighting alien invaders on the moon had not been one of them. "We need to buy time for Excalibur to recharge," Olivia told General Lewis over the communication link. "And we need to find a way past their quantum shielding. The President has authorized Emergency Protocol Omega," General Lewis replied grimly. "We're launching everything we have at their command ship. Nuclear missiles, kinetic impactors, everything. It won't destroy them, but it might distract them long enough for you to get Excalibur back online." As Earth's remaining defenses engaged, the Krell fleet, Olivia and Alan, worked on modifying Excalibur's targeting systems. If they couldn't overcome the quantum shielding directly, perhaps they could find a weakness or exploit. The Ardani must have known the Krell might have defenses against this weapon, Alan reasoned as they worked. There must be something in the design we're missing. Olivia pulled up the original Ardani schematics, studying them with fresh eyes. "Look at this component," she said, pointing to an auxiliary system they had initially thought was just a power regulator. "What if it's not just regulating power but modulating the quantum frequency?" The Ardani built in a way to adapt the weapon against Krell countermeasures. The lunar base shuddered again as more Krell weapons found their mark. Emergency lights flashed and dust fell from the ceiling. Over the intercom they could hear reports of breaches in the outer sections. The Krell had landed and were attempting to fight their way inside. "We need to implement this modification now," Olivia said urgently. "Samantha, can you reconfigure the emitter array while we adjust the targeting parameters?" "I'll need to access the main chamber," Samantha replied. "That means going through sections that might already be compromised." Colonel Parker assigned a squad of soldiers to escort Samantha to the weapon chamber. The group moved quickly through the corridors of the lunar base, hearing the sounds of fighting growing closer. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity watched the battle unfold with a mixture of hope and terror. News broadcasts showed the disabled Krell, ships drifting in space, proof that Excalibur had worked. But they also showed the remaining fleet regrouping, with the massive command ship at its center. The Krell had not yet attacked Earth directly, focusing all their attention on eliminating the lunar base and the superweapon it housed. President Hoffman addressed the world from an underground bunker. "Today humanity faces its greatest challenge, but we are not defenseless. Our scientists have created a weapon that can stop the Krell invasion. Even now, brave men and women on our lunar base are fighting to protect us all. We must stand united, as one human family, regardless of nation or creed. This is not the end. This is humanity's finest hour." Back on the lunar base, Samantha reached the main weapon chamber with her escort. Two of the soldiers had been wounded in a brief firefight with Krell boarders, insectoid creatures in advanced armor wielding energy weapons. The humans had prevailed, but only just. "I need 10 minutes, Samantha told the soldiers as she began, working on the emitter array. "Keep them off me for 10 minutes. The soldiers took defensive positions around the chamber, as Samantha modified the Excalibur's systems according to Olivia and Alan's instructions. The weapon's core pulsed with blue-white energy, slowly building toward another firing sequence. In the control room, Olivia and Alan finished recalibrating the targeting parameters. "We'll need to hit their command ship directly," Alan said. "A glancing blow won't be enough to penetrate their shielding." "Samantha, status report," Olivia called over the comm. "Almost done," Samantha replied, her voice nearly drowned out by the sound of weapons fire. "The Krell are trying to break through to the chamber. We're holding them off, but not for long." The base rocked with a massive explosion. Colonel Parker reported that the Krell had breached the main airlock and were pouring into the northern section of the base. The evacuation shuttles had launched, carrying most of the non-combat personnel to safety, but those who remained were now trapped. "Modifications complete," Samantha reported triumphantly. "Returning to control." "Ah!" Her transmission cut off abruptly, replaced by the sound of intense energy weapon fire. "Samantha!" Olivia called desperately. "Samantha, respond!" There was no answer for several agonizing seconds. Then, "I'm hit but alive," Made it to the emergency access tunnel. The soldiers. They didn't make it. Krell are in the main chamber. Can you seal it remotely? Alan asked urgently. Already done, Samantha replied, her voice tight with pain. But they're trying to disable Excalibur. I can see them through the observation port. On the monitors, Olivia could see Krell boarding parties approaching the control room from multiple directions. They had perhaps minutes before they would be overrun. Excalibur is at 68% charge, Alan reported. Not ideal, but it might be enough with the modifications. We have to fire now, Olivia decided, before they can disable it. She entered the firing sequence, her fingers flying over the controls. The base hummed as Excalibur drew power from every available system. Lights dimmed, and non-essential systems shut down automatically. Targeting their command ship, Olivia announced. Frequency modulation active, firing in 3, 2, 1. Once again, the blue-white energy of Excalibur lanced out from the lunar base toward the Krell fleet. But this time, the beam pulsed and shifted, changing frequency and patterns designed to penetrate the quantum shielding. The energy struck the command ship directly, seeming to splash harmlessly against its protective barrier for several seconds. Then, gradually the shield began to flicker. Gaps appeared in the shimmering barrier as Excalibur's modified beam found the resonant frequency needed to disrupt it. The energy pushed through, enveloping the massive vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, system by system, the Krell command ship began to go dark. As the Krell command ship went dark, a wave of quantum disruption spread outward from it, catching the remaining alien vessels in its expanding field. One by one, they lost power, their systems failing as the modified Excalibur beam did its work. On the lunar base monitors, Olivia and Alan watched in amazement as the entire Krell invasion fleet drifted powerless in Earth orbit. We did it, Alan said softly, hardly believing his eyes. It actually worked. But their victory came at a cost. The lunar base was severely damaged from the Krell attack, with multiple breaches in its structure. Life support systems were failing, in several sections, and Krell boarding parties still roamed the corridors, cut off from their fleet but no less dangerous. Samantha, can you hear me? Olivia called over the comm system. Samantha, respond. After a tense moment, Samantha's voice came through, weak but determined. Still here. Hiding in maintenance shaft C7. Lost some blood, but the emergency seal on my suit is holding. Stay put, Olivia instructed. We're coming to get you. Colonel Parker organized the remaining soldiers into search and rescue teams. The Krell boarders were confused and disoriented after losing contact with their fleet, making them easier to contain. Room by room, the humans reclaimed their base, finding wounded colleagues and eliminating alien intruders. Olivia and Alan found Samantha in the maintenance shaft, pale from blood loss but conscious. A Krell energy weapon had hit her in the side, burning through her suit and into her flesh. The emergency medical team stabilized her condition and prepared her for evacuation to Earth once a rescue shuttle could reach them. Did we get them all? Samantha asked as they carried her to the medical bay. Every last ship, Alan assured her. Excalibur exceeded all our expectations. The Krell fleet is dead in space. The next 24 hours were a blur of activity. Emergency repair teams from Earth arrived to stabilize the lunar base. Medical ships evacuated the wounded. Military vessels approached the disabled Krell ships cautiously, finding the alien crews inside alive, but their technology completely non-functional. Olivia, Alan, and Samantha were hailed as heroes upon their return to Earth. They had led the team that saved humanity from extinction, but Olivia felt uneasy with the celebration. Something about their victory seemed too convenient, too perfect. 2 weeks after the battle, when Samantha had recovered enough to join them, Olivia called a private meeting with her colleagues in a secure room at Project Starfall headquarters. I've been analyzing the data from Excalibur's second firing, she told them, spreading printouts on the table. Something doesn't add up. The quantum disruption should not have spread from the command ship to the other vessels, not the way it did. The effect was too uniform, too complete. Alan studied the figures with a frown. You're right. It's almost as if As if the Krell ships were designed to fail this way, Samantha finished the thought. As if they had a built-in vulnerability that Excalibur exploited. The implication hung in the air between them. Could the entire invasion have been staged? Was this some kind of test? Their questions were answered 3 days later when an entirely new type of alien ship appeared in Earth orbit. Unlike the angular, insectoid design of the Krell vessels, this ship was smooth and organic, almost beautiful in its flowing lines. It made no aggressive moves, simply broadcasting a message on all frequencies. We would speak with the builders of the quantum weapon. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session and agreed to the meeting. Representatives from all major nations would attend, along with the scientists who had created Excalibur. The meeting site was set in neutral territory, a platform constructed in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The alien vessel sent down a single shuttle. When its doors opened, the beings that emerged looked nothing like the insectoid Krell. They were tall and slender with iridescent skin that shifted colors in the sunlight. They moved with impossible grace, as if only partially bound by gravity. "We are the Ardani," the lead alien said, speaking perfect English. "We have come to thank you and to explain." In the conference room, the Ardani representative revealed the truth. There had never been a Krell dominion, at least not as humans had been led to believe. The invasion had been a test, an elaborate scenario designed to see how humanity would respond to an existential threat. "Our civilization is ancient," the Ardani explained. "We have watched many young species emerge into the galactic community. Some come in peace, seeking knowledge and cooperation. Others come as conquerors, bringing only war and destruction. We needed to know which path humanity would choose." "So you tricked us," President Hoffman said, her voice tight with anger. "You made us believe Earth was about to be destroyed." "We gave you a choice," the Ardani countered calmly. "We provided weapon technology, yes, but how you used it was entirely up to you. You could have chosen to build a weapon that would destroy the Krell completely. That would have told us humanity was too dangerous to trust. Instead, you created a device that disabled but did not kill. You showed restraint even in the face of extinction. That told us everything we needed to know." Olivia listened with growing understanding. "The ships we disabled, they weren't really crewed by enemies, were they?" "They were automated vessels," the Ardani confirmed. "No lives were at risk. The boarders you fought on your lunar base were mechanical constructs designed to test your defenses and your resolve. The revelation sent waves of shock and relief through the human representatives. Earth had not faced true destruction, but the test had revealed something important about humanity's character. Now that you have passed our test," the Ardani continued, "we wish to offer you something. Membership in the Galactic Concord, an alliance of peaceful spacefaring civilizations. We can share knowledge, resources, and protection. Your species has great potential but also much to learn." The offer sparked intense debate among Earth's leaders. Some were still angry about the deception and wanted nothing to do with the Ardani. Others saw the tremendous opportunity being presented. While politicians argued, Olivia, Alan, and Samantha spoke privately with the Ardani representative. "You risked a lot with this test," Alan pointed out. "What if we had built a planet killer weapon instead of a disabler? Then we would have ensured it never fired," the Ardani replied simply. "We have safeguards you never detected, but we hoped you would make the choice you did. We have been watching humanity for centuries, seeing your capacity for both great violence and great compassion. We believed you would choose wisely, and you did." "What happens now?" Samantha asked. "That is for your people to decide," the Ardani said. "But if you accept our offer, we will help you advance your technology by centuries. The stars will open to you." After 3 days of negotiations, Earth's nations reached a consensus. They would accept membership in the Galactic Concord, but on certain conditions. Humanity would maintain its independence and develop at its own pace. Knowledge would be shared gradually to prevent cultural shock, and Earth would have a voice in the Concord's decisions from the beginning. The Ardani agreed to these terms, impressed by humanity's unity and foresight. A formal treaty was signed, marking humanity's first official contact with an alien civilization. 1 year later, Olivia stood on the observation deck of Earth's first true interstellar vessel. Built with Ardani guidance, it incorporated both human innovation and alien technology. The ship was named Excalibur, in honor of the weapon that had proven humanity's worth to the galaxy. Alan and Samantha joined her at the viewport, watching as Earth grew smaller behind them. As the first human ambassadors to the Galactic conquered, they were heading to the Ardani homeworld to begin a new chapter in human history. They sent us Wreckage, Samantha said thoughtfully. And we built something they never expected. Not just a weapon, Alan added. A future. Olivia nodded, her eyes fixed on the stars ahead. The Wreckage the Ardani had sent was never just about creating a superweapon. It was about forging humanity's place in the galaxy. And now, that place was waiting for them among the stars.